let's wrap this all up with some thinking projects. So we all know we're going to stand. Duh. We're patriots. That's what we do. We may not know where we're going to stand, and that's where I brought up all these issues to think about, with from city issues to family issues to federal issues to state issues. So how do we sharpen that razor to where we can cut through the BS and find a good hill to die on, so to speak? Because when that day comes, we will all stand and we will die on the hill that we choose to die on. And that will be the fight we choose. So whether we're standing over here or over there or somewhere else, we may die on that hill. So I, for one, do a lot of study and research. And I look at issues probably more than I should. I mean, granted, I go down every rabbit hole. I'm the kind of guy that finds kind of it relaxing to read, study, and watch very dry information on human nature, the way we are, biochemistry, even politics, on a historical level. And so I find joy in it, and it's not that hard for me. But there are people I know that go, Mark, how can you read that garbage? But it's not garbage. It's just, to them, garbage. So you have to find people that you can trust, that you can start answering your questions. Hopefully I brought something to the table today to where you go, I should think about where I'm going to stand. Where am I going to draw that line, and what hill will that be on? So simplify it. I would hope that you would go, I'm going to start my journey at the Constitution because I believe in America. I believe in that dream that once was, that light on the hill that was, the ratified Constitution that gave us what we have today. So I'll start there. I recommend the 10th Amendment Center. They have a website and all the 10th Amendment Center. A lot of great articles, podcasts, videos. I share a lot of their content on my Facebook group at Facebook Prepper Guy, however you find that. Chris Hall, she's a constitutional lawyer, really gets into some of the deeper issues and how it really works, not how we would like it to work, but how it really works. The Constitutional Sheriffs and Police Officers Association, CSPOA.org, I think. Sheriff Mack founded that. He's a great constitutional sheriff. Those are starting points to kind of go, what am I looking for here? Because you can't really fix something until you study it enough to go, I see what it's doing and what it's not doing and what it's trying to do. Let me see if I can figure out the problem. So start there and start looking at things. And it really is pretty simple the more you immerse yourself in it. If it's something about the Constitution that makes the government or forces the government to protect your rights, then it's a good thing. If they want to tell you how to live and what kind of guns you can and can't own, that's a bad thing. It's pretty simple. People that talk about, gun control are on the wrong side. Don't listen to them. Don't study their stuff. Don't even watch them on the news. Just skip it. But when you hear somebody talking about, like, the NRA was founded for slaves to own guns to protect themselves after the emancipation and all that. And yet they turn it around and say it's a racist organization. How can it be racist? So when you hear that, see that, and you study the NRA and you go, oh, those people over there are lying, so I'm going to stop listening to them. I'm not going to engage in their stupid banter. I'm going to go over here and learn about this, and then I can make a choice. So this is the information I will absorb and think about. And this garbage over here is really like a babbling child that makes no sense. Why would you try to understand it? They don't speak English yet. They don't even speak words yet. So it's easy to separate. And then, we've talked about it on the show in the past. You need to have your focal point. You need to know what you believe in. And so I talked about that focal point off in the distance, and they'll move the window called the Overton window, and you will freak out, and then they'll move it back, but you're not back to the same position. So you need to keep track of that to where you can keep moving your window back in the right line. Because once you have that that set of values, the morals, and I'm not talking about just, morals like with church, but like what you firmly believe in vehemently about how you're going to conduct your life. If you keep that in focus, then it makes the search easier for knowledge. Because anything that runs contrary to that, you should be diametrically opposed to that. And it's not saying that I'm right and he's wrong or you're right and they're wrong. These are your values, and that is where you look for your direction, your landmark. When in doubt, you can always look to your values and your principles and your integrity and go, that's not who I am. I'm not going to do it. That'll help you stand in the right position. Because if you're looking to your values and who you are as a human being, and you're not a sociopath, because I don't think they have a focal point, then you're always going to find yourself standing in the right place, because you'll be with people that are like-minded, that believe in the Constitution, that believe in limited government, that believe in your rights. When you tell somebody, that clown from planning and zoning came and said, I need to get a permit. I've had people tell me, you should probably do that. And then I've had people go, that's just crap. We should do something about it. Those are the people I want to stand with, because they understand the reality of private property. So I hang with them. Doesn't mean we get together a militia and go overthrow the city government. It just means that they're not the talking heads of the capitulators that go, well, they told me I needed to get a permit to change my water heater, so I did. It was only $50. It's like, only $50? Send me $50 every time you want to do something stupid. But they are the people, the builders, those that live in a different bubble. They might have to get a permit because they're contractors. They work for other people. But when I talk to them about it, and they're just like, well, you shouldn't fight City Hall. Just get a permit. It's only $500. Get your impact fees. It's only $2,000. Have your drawings drawn up. I know a friend, he's an architect. He'll do it for $1,000. It's like, excuse me, but that's pretty much the money I just spent on my footings and my stem wall. Why would I give that to someone else and have nothing to show for it other than appeasement to some bureaucrat that sits in City Hall and just robbed me with a smile on his face? So I don't learn from those people. I just go, yeah, I'll think about it. I don't engage them. I don't get into trying to teach them the right way of dealing with government. I just go, yeah, maybe you're right. I probably won't see him for another 6 months, and by then my house will be built. What do I care what he thinks? I lean toward the people that go, well, that's crap. I have a friend that's a lawyer that if you get into trouble with the city, he's won a lot of those cases. They can't make you do that. That's BS. Oh, Well, now, if I had to stand today, I'm going to stand over here with you. So you have to have that values, and those values will tell you where to stand. They're your compass to get to that place to where you will stand. And you will most likely always be standing in the right spot if you have your core beliefs, because they're always there. You've seen people walk into that point throughout your whole life. People that you've met that go, yes, this is the way we should fight this. No, I think we should just, sing Kumbaya. So you watch them going in that direction, and you know that all the people that are of like mind are going over there. So when it's time to stand and you go, where am I going to stand? You look around and you go, oh, those are all those people that they're just like me. They want America back. They don't want to reset back to 1980. They want to reset right back to ratification. That's where I'm going to go stand. See, it's complicated, but it's not. But it does take some noodling it out and trying to figure that out, with what's right with you, who you are. There's no one can tell you where to stand. Only you can do that. And if you're paying attention, you'll see like-minded people standing in the same spot. And you'll find that the people on the other side that are wishy-washy, mealy-mouthed snowflakes won't have big groups standing in one spot because they're so diversified. They don't know what they believe in. One minute they're standing over there with the coffee drinkers, and the next minute they're standing over there with the tree huggers. Whereas people with values will all be standing pretty much in a couple big groups. The trick will be when you're asked to do something that you'll really need your moral clarity. Because if I'm in a group and they're like, we're going to fight for the Constitution, we're going to take back our country, and then we're going to do this, and I see that they're not going to respect human rights, and they're going to become a religious zealot or a monarch, then I walk away. See, it's like, nope. George Washington was a good guy. Probably would have been standing with him. I think we all would have. And when all of the losers went to him and said, we want you to be our king, he said, no. We just fought a king. What are you talking about? Well, it had its good points. George Washington said, no, thank you. Went back to farming. Finally, they kept coming after him and going, please, run for president. He's like, okay. But when they asked him to do something that ran diametrically opposed to his beliefs and what he'd fought for, he said, no, thank you. And he didn't follow. He walked away. And that's where I hope all of us will not become like George Washington, because he wore a funny wig, but he was a bootlegger. Actually, he was a moonshiner. The day will come. Trust me. Just history dictates that all things collapse. And things end badly. That's why they end. So we will be asked to stand. We will all answer that call and stand because, well, what the hell else are we going to do? The question is, where will you stand? And I hope that at least pointing out some of the abstracts in this question will help you maybe go back to some of the things I've said in other shows about finding your balance, your focal point, getting your compass straight, getting your morals straight. Talking about with God, just being a moral person, finding out how far they've moved that window on you to where you can turn the window back and go, there's my view. That's what I want to look at. So these questions help us realize the importance of being grounded, to hanging on to something that's going in the right direction. Like in a blizzard, you have that rope and you hang on to it. Because if you didn't have that rope there, you'd be lost and you'd freeze to death and die. Hopefully you've put that rope there for your life to where you can follow it back to safety, comfort, family, a warm meal, whatever it is that you find valuable. Take you back to a constitutional republic. And if you keep stringing that rope in the right direction, when that day comes, you grab onto that rope and you pull yourself back. And that's the whole point of these exercises. It's like, who am I as a person? What do I believe? Because we all believe in America. But have we allowed the noise to make us think that the president's the commander-in-chief? That we need the Senate to approve a budget? No, we don't. See, we've allowed it. And the biggest kicker is, if you really study the Federal Firearms Act, I'll throw this in there just to set off all my Second Amendment loving people. If you read the Federal Firearms Act, it does not apply to U.S. citizens. And you can look it all up. It only applies to territories and providences. So that federal law not only does not apply to U.S. citizens, the same as every federal law ever written, but it cannot be enforced by even your local areas because it's unjust and unconstitutional the way they're trying to enforce it. If they enforced it the proper way, it'd be fine. It'd have no problem. So these are issues that we allow to muddy the water. And because we're good people, when somebody says it's the right thing to do, we go, what do I got to lose? It's okay. It's not going to bother me that much. But when you heap 100,000 of those onto the pile, pretty soon you suffocate. And you can't, there's no going back. And when the weight of all that garbage collapses our civilization and that thin veneer of civility goes away, we will all be standing in a post-apocalyptic America. And hopefully I will see you on the same hill that all of the other constitutional patriots are standing on, that want to go back to the real Constitution. So it's hard to figure out where you want to stand. And this only comes from self-study. There's no pixie dust that's going to make you a founding father. It just doesn't happen. You can learn, just like there's no magic pixie dust that will make you a good Christian. And until you read, you will not know what is expected of you. And therefore, when it comes to America, you need to start studying. And it's hard because we get caught up in all this social stuff. And if it's not one crisis, it's another. And that's why Rob Emanuel or whoever said, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Well, because it keeps the masses distracted. Now, back in the day, they said, oh, let them eat cake. In the Roman times, it was like, well, if we entertain them and give them bread and wine, they'll be happy. They'll shut up. And that's what they did. That's what all the gladiator games were for. It was sports. We have sports now. It's just the NBA and the NFL and the hockey league and all that stuff. And then we go and we have our tailgate parties. And then when you start talking politics to people, they go, I don't want to hear that. It's confusing. Let's just enjoy the game. Well, we're being distracted. So you have to set aside time every day to be vigilant. Pick something and learn about it. Take your worst case scenario out of social media. Gun control. That issue. Not all the garbage that's heaped on top of it. That issue. What does the Constitution say about it? And then start reading up on it and finding out about it. And then when you're asked to stand, you're going to go, how do you feel about the Second Amendment? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? And if they answer the questions in line with your belief structure, your values, your agenda, then you go, hey, you sound like the group of people I can stand with. But if you ask somebody, what do you guys stand for? And it's like, well, we're a militia and we're a big team and we've been around since 1994 and we have 10,000 members and here's our leader. He's a very religious man and this and that. And it's like, well, what are we going to do to defend against private property? Well, we got this plan and that plan, and then you see their actions, and it's a lot of words, but they're not the words that resonate with you. Then walk away. But there'll be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of groups and leaders and places to stand. And they'll all be just like car salesmen showing you the latest, greatest thing. But if you don't know what kind of car you want, and you haven't done any research, you'll walk off the lot or drive off the lot in a Hugo when you needed a truck. Yeah, but man, that sounded so cool. This gets good gas mileage. I can make 20 trips in this Hugo that I could make one trip in my truck. So I don't really need a truck, do I? Well, no, actually you did. You were just sold a bill of goods. So we, all of us need to study more. Pick issues that are important. How do you know an issue is important? Read the Constitution. What did it say? There's not that many things it talked about. Everything else you had that right to do. You want to build a wall around your property? Build a wall. It's your property. You have private property. If they're not letting you, then that's something you can go look into. Now you've got a direction of study. But the Constitution was pretty simple. It's like the federal government can't screw you. All it can do is protect your rights to build that wall. And if the Fed doesn't do it, then the state will. And if the state don't, the county will. And if the county don't, your sheriff had better. And if you see a breakdown in that, that's where you need to start working. Because it will all fall back to, and when it crumbles, on local communities. It's not like we're going to be able to just all move into Washington and fix it. There, that was just a breaker. We just reflipped the breaker and now it's working again. No, it's going to be chaos on a local level. The only thing that will matter to you during SHTF or teotwawki will be, can I feed my family? Can I keep a roof over my head? And can I keep from getting murdered by looters or a gang? Not going to really matter who got elected the last go round. It's going to matter to where you can group together enough people in your community that have like-minded values to protect you, and you protect them. And then eventually, once the community is protected, that's when the leaders will start to arise and say, I think we should be a Puritan community. And then you'll need to fight against that also. So it'll not be easy. And once that day comes, if you're alive to stand, you will need to know where you stand, or you'll become just another serf or a plebe under the new leader, same as the old leader. I don't know if I was able to really bring this point to life in your mind, but it's an important issue. Where you stand is more important than if you will stand. And where you stand will be based on who you are as an American. Do you have beliefs? Are you religious? Are you a God-fearing person? Enough to where you're not going to force your neighbor to be the same kind of God-fearing person that you are, because they have rights. And so it's important to all of us to know who we are. And you can't learn who you are when it comes to weighty issues like the Constitution and a free republic without studying. So you have to pick issues that are important to you and then learn about them. Not just read the sites that make you feel good, but reading the ones that talk about legal constitutional issues. Because trust me, it will make you feel good when you find out that you have always had the right to bear arms. And the only problem is the local yo-yos that are enforcing federal laws and trying to take away your rights. And so now that you know you have that right and it was never taken away from you, then you just have to elect better people. Get more people to stand with you on the right side of history and an issue and fight and win. And if you can't win, then be that person that resists much and obeys little, because that's how we can fix it. And really, a sheriff could probably save America, because all counties have sheriffs or constables that are elected. That person protects your rights right in your neighborhood, is the chief law enforcement officer in your county. No one higher, not even the governor, because the governor is state. County is closer to the individual that has all authority. So you need to get good sheriffs. And that way, when anti-NRA group shows up and says, hey, we've all decided through a democracy and mob rule that you can't own that gun now, your sheriff shows up and arrests them all and says, get off this guy's property, because next time if he shoots you, I'm going to be out here helping him dig your grave. That's how it would work. So, in my opinion, it's already hit the fan. We are already off and falling into the abyss. And we're just like England back in the day, thinking that because we have a roof over our head, because we have a job, and because the taxes just aren't that oppressive, that's fine. So we are back in history, following a king called the media that tells us how to live, how to think, and how to feel. All right, well, I think I've said enough. I think I've beat this dead horse enough. I hope this helps you question your direction of where you will stand when you stand. And I hope we're all standing in similar places. Talk to you all later next week, probably. Adios.